When you move into your business, it's not going to be completely brand new, that you're bringing existing skills and experience and knowledge into your business because you have really valuable entrepreneurial experience that you're exercising right now in your current role. As a former teacher, I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your purpose in order to get paid. If anybody deserves to be a millionaire, it's an educator. I'm Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas, and you're listening to 7-Figure Educator. Welcome back to another episode of the 7-Figure Educator podcast. My name's Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas, former teacher, former principal, Harvard grad, and current full-time entrepreneur, CEO, and founder of EJT Education Group. I've built a 7-figure business, and now I'm helping you do the same. During this episode, I want to address the statement I hear so many educators make, which is, I know how to teach, I know how to run a school, I know how to run a district, but I don't know how to run a business. I'm not a business person. We're going to dispel all of that because, my friend, it's lies, okay? Lies on lies on lies. And I want to help paint the picture for you of how the current experience that you have is business experience, to where you moving into your business, you growing a business is not going to be 100% brand new and from scratch. There are actually a lot of current and existing experience that you have that is going to translate into your business. So I wanted to share with you 5 examples of things that you are already doing that will directly translate into your business and how you are already entrepreneurial. So let's start with this concept and idea that we talk about a lot in education of creating buy-in. So oftentimes we'll talk about in education, particularly if you're a school leader, if you're rolling out anything to your staff, that you have to create buy-in. If you're going to initiate or implement any type of new initiative, if you are going to roll out a new curriculum, whatever it may be, you have to create buy-in amongst your staff. Well, my friends, that is sales. Anytime that you have to take intentional actions to persuade a party towards making a decision that's in their best interest and will lead to transformation, it's sales. Right? So when you're standing in front of your staff, when you're standing in front of your classroom, and you have to create buy-in, when you're standing in front of your district in order to create buy-in, you're actually using sales tactics to sell someone into a vision that is in their best interest. So that's our first example of buy-in is another way of basically saying, I'm selling. And that's what you do as an entrepreneur. If you have ever sent any type of newsletter. So whether you're a principal and you're sending a newsletter to your staff, if you're a teacher and you're sending a newsletter to your classroom of parents, if you work at the district level and you're sending a newsletter to your department or you're working with a communications team to be able to send out communication to your stakeholders, my friends, that's marketing. And your business as an entrepreneur, you're going to have some type of ongoing, consistent touch point via email. And it could be a weekly newsletter, or it could be some just value that you're adding to your email list, but it's the same thing. It's what you're currently doing in your role as an educator. You are providing value. You are building awareness with your target audience, and that target audience might be parents, it might be staff, it might be a particular stakeholder within your district, but you're using an intentional marketing tactic to build awareness. My friends, you have experience in marketing. I know you're listening to this episode, and if you felt like you found your community, well, I want you to take the next step to join our community on Facebook. I have a free Facebook group, other Black education consultants just like you, and we're talking about proposals, we're talking about the next opportunity. People are collaborating and finding contracts together. It's an amazing, beautiful space that we've been able to curate, and I want to invite you to join. So go ahead and click the link in the show notes to be able to request to join my Facebook group, and I look forward to engaging with you there. Let's talk about team. Because as an entrepreneur who has a vision of a 7-8-figure business, you're going to have to build a team. You're going to have to hire people. You're going to have to lead people. You're going to have to manage people. You might start with 1099 contractors and move directly to W-2 employees, but you are going to have to lead other people. And guess what? I believe that teaching is leadership that leading is leadership. And so whether you are a teacher, you are a principal, or you work at the district level, you have experience in leading other people. If you have ever led your department, if you have led a PLC of teachers, a professional learning community of teachers, you, my friend, have leadership experience. I cannot tell you how many entrepreneurs move into their business without that valuable experience of managing and leading other people. And now they're building their business while also learning the art of leadership. If you are a teacher and you've led another group of people, if you're a principal and you've led a building at the district level, if you've led a team or a department, you are already starting off miles ahead of the average entrepreneur because you have solid leadership experience that's going to directly translate into your business. Let's talk about the art of lesson planning and how that actually might show up in your business. So, as a former high school math teacher, I had a set of standards that I had to teach. So I taught Algebra 2, I taught geometry. This was prior to Common Core, but there was a set of standards that I was responsible for ensuring that my students could meet by the end of the year. I had to take those standards. I had to then identify units, so grouping them into standards that were similar or were connected with a theme. I would then group them into units, so that way I knew what were the chapters of my content. And then within each one of those units, I would then break them down to daily objectives. So that way I knew what I would be teaching every day. And then I would take those daily objectives and then turn those into lesson plans. So given the daily objective for the day, what's the actual experience that I would be leading my students to actually get them to meet the daily objective? And then I would develop an assessment. So that way I knew at the end of the day, did my students actually master what I taught them? I would develop an exit ticket. At the end of a unit, I would develop a unit assessment to be able to see where my kids were with mastery at the end of that unit. And then we had end of course exams, right? Which were through the state that would determine whether or not my students had overall mastery of that content. If you are a Black entrepreneur and you are looking for a playground to be able to grow your business and receive a roadmap for building a seven-figure education consulting business, I want to personally invite you to my upcoming 5-day business school. You're going to have the opportunity to spend 5 days with me, and I'm going to break down my blueprint for helping you grow a seven-figure education consulting business. I'm going to teach you my seven-figure sales process. I'm going to teach you how to develop your offers. We'll talk about pricing. And my goal by the end of the 5 days is that you make money, which means I'm going to help you identify people in your network that you can begin pitching by the end of our 5 days. So there's no excuse, because guess what? It's completely free. I want you to go ahead, head to the link in the show notes to sign up and join me at my next B School. I'll see you there. In that experience of instructional planning, there's actually two really key important skills that I built my muscle in, and I know you've built your muscle in too, that are going to directly translate to your business. So the first, when it comes to instructional planning, that means that you have mastered the art of strategic planning. So in my business as an entrepreneur, I think about what's the goal that I want to be true for my business at the end of the year. A part of this is revenue. Another part of this is impact. How many people do I want to touch? How many people do I want to engage? What's the transformation that I want to provide for X amount of people by the end of the year? So I start off with an objective for the year. And then I use that to then backwards plan to what are my goals and priorities for the year, given that vision for the year. So what needs to be true of our marketing? What needs to be true for our sales? What needs to be true about our team? What needs to be true around our company culture? I think through at least 3 to 5 goals and priorities for our company for the upcoming year. And then I turn each one of those goals into a KPI, a key performance indicator, to be able to monitor every single week in terms of our progress of being able to meet our goals and vision for the year. Y'all, you may have heard it already, but it's the same skill of lesson planning, right? Like I've taken a big idea, I've then been able to backwards plan into units, which for me are priorities, are goals for the year. And then I take these goals and turn them into KPIs, which are basically my exit tickets that I'm monitoring every single week to assess our progress towards our goals. That is the same skill as lesson planning. So you as an educator are uniquely positioned to move into your business with this skill set that, again, the average entrepreneur, they have to learn and teach themselves on the job in their business. There's also another skill here that's at play for us as educators is the best teachers, the best educators are really great at planning. They're also really great at data analysis. So once they administer those exit tickets, they administer those unit assessments, they're breaking down the data, looking at standard by standard mastery of their students, determining what their students have mastered, what their students have not yet mastered, what's in need of remediation, and then being able to build a remediation plan or an action plan that's going to spiral mastered content so it stays fresh, and remediation tasks so that way we can target the areas that our kids haven't mastered yet to be able to grow them in those specific areas. Well, guess what? I do the same thing in my business, except now instead of looking at student data, I'm looking at my profit and loss statement. So I have intentional planning time set on my calendar every week, every month, and every quarter to take a deep dive into my business. And I'm looking at those priorities and goals that I established during my strategic planning. I'm also taking a look at my profit and loss statement that I receive every month from my financial team to be able to determine where did we hit the mark? Where are we off track? And what's my action plan for the next 30 to 90 days to be able to address those areas that were off track and be able to capitalize on the areas that are gaining momentum? It's the same thing. I know you're enjoying this episode, but I wanted to pop in really quickly to make sure that you know about my event, Seven Figure Educator Live. It is the only event for Black educators who have a vision of a seven-figure education consulting business, and they are ready to make that vision a reality. You have the opportunity to spend 3 days in person with me and my team in Atlanta, Georgia, and I guarantee this is a transformative experience you do not want to miss. So to grab your ticket, you're going to need to head to sevenfigureeducator.com. Again, that's the number 7figureeducator.com and grab your ticket before the price goes up. The link is also in the show notes. Go ahead and click and I'll see you there. And then lastly, this pillar of operations. So in a school, there's lots of operations. In a district, there's so much in terms of operations. We have transportation. We have the management of textbooks. We have student discipline. We have field trips. We have lunch. We have dismissal. We have arrival. There's all these operations that are consistently at play that allow for a school and school district to function. Even if you're a classroom teacher, you have operations in your classroom that ensure that your classroom is high functioning, right? It isn't just we do whatever we want to do when we want to do it. You have clear operations, you have clear procedures, you have clear systems at the classroom level, school level, district level. Same thing in your business. In order for you to have a well-oiled machine of a business, you've got to have really thoughtful operations. You have to be thinking about what are your systems and procedures for something like a client refund or a client late fee or a client who is 15 minutes late to the coaching session. What's your client late policy when it comes to actually attending sessions? At what point do you cancel the meeting? At what point do they get to reschedule, if they get to reschedule? So you have certain procedures and operations that you have in your company. And one of the biggest ahas that I had of the direct translation from my experience as an educator to my business was when I had to develop my company handbook when we started to grow our team and bring on employees in our company. And the employee handbook looked really familiar because as a former principal, I had a school handbook. And literally the sections were the same, minus the fire drill and the lockdown. We had the very same content, the types of sections in the school handbook were living in my employee handbook. There is so much experience that you have that you cannot fall into this trap of believing that you are unprepared. And my personal belief is this is another way that we've been socialized to underestimate ourselves, undervalue the work that we do as educators, is by believing that the same people who know how to lead a highly effective classroom of 30 kids, the same people who know how to run an entire school of hundreds, if not thousands of kids, people who are creating change at the district level, don't know how to run a business. Right? We've got to stop saying that narrative and reinforcing that narrative because it would be so far from being true. So it's my hope that I've been able to shift your mindset during this episode and shift your beliefs around the fact that you are entrepreneurial, that when you move into your business, it's not going to be completely brand new, that you're bringing existing skills and experience and knowledge into your business because you have really valuable entrepreneurial experience that you're exercising right now in your current role. And for me, one of the biggest ahas that I had that really made me feel firm in this belief is realizing that, yes, I have a 7-figure business now, but it wasn't my first 7-figure business because as a principal, I had a 7-figure budget. When you thought of all the payroll, the Title I budget, the state and federal funding, all those things that go up to make our school budget, it was over 7 figures. And so me running a 7-figure business now is not completely brand new. So if you have shifted your mindset as a result of this podcast, I would love for you to share it with another educator friend because I'm on a mission to really change the narrative around who we are as educators and the unique skills and competencies and knowledge that we bring to the table and how we're uniquely positioned to run businesses. So I would love for you to share this with a friend. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that way you can stay in the loop and stay in the conversation, the meaningful, mind-blowing conversations that we're having here on the 7-Figure Educator podcast. We drop episodes every single week. So if you hit that subscribe button, you're not going to miss out. That's all I have for today's episode, and I'll be back on the next episode with more great content. See you soon.